Hello, and welcome to another episode of Crossing Bridges Talk Show. I'm your host, Larry Montgomery Sr. This is my co host, Will. Will, introduce yourself.
Good evening, everyone. I'm William Montgomery. It's a pleasure to be here.
And my special guest host, my sister, Jeanette. Jeanette, introduce yourself.
Hello, everyone. Have a good evening. I hope you're having a good evening today. And I am Jeanette. Jeanette.
All righty then. We have a special guest, Kimmy. Kimmy, introduce yourself.
Good evening, everyone. I'm Kimmy Bambara. Welcome to our broadcast.
Kimmy Bambara dash Montgomery.
That's right. Always
Okay.
Montgomery.
A legal name, just in case there's some warrants out there. We want to make sure that they catch you. Anyway,
If you don't let me no money, you better watch out.
and we want to thank everybody for joining us. This week's topic is going to cover mass media brainwashing. You say, well, why would black people be sitting around talking about mass media and their ability to continue to brainwash us? Well, we seem as black people to be the ones that are so brainwashed that we actually think that this nation is actually has embraced us. You know, there are a number of people out there who just believe that they are what they call better than black. Okay, fine. And that they're special and that they're entitled to not only being special and entitled, but that they have this right to use and abuse people. And we have found those of us who are enlightened, have found that this is earnestly what people think. And this is the mechanism that they use, mass media. Now, let's talk about mass media. What is that? Mass media would include television, newspapers, radio. Okay. Some people would like to include the internet, but I don't include that in this conversation because you have so many varieties of sources for information in social media. Most of it is unverifiable or unverified. Now, when we talk about the regular mass media, we find that they put out there that they've verified the news that they put out. They say that that's their policy and that's what the industry standard is. The problem with that is that there's no one responsible for monitoring what the industry actually does. And it's very difficult in our society because this is a society based on capitalism. What I do to make money, as long as it's legal and sometimes illegal, ain't none of your business. And what are you going to do about it? You know, those industries that are actually regulated, let's say pharmaceuticals for one, they're not even properly regulated, because they're subject to being uh, managed by corrupt individuals in high places. So really, there's very little opportunity for much going on in this country that can be held accountable. Even in the medicine and healthcare, they have what they call those boards of health, and every state has their board of health or whatever. And these are people who are, we assume, uh, familiar with healthcare, probably doctors, but they're appointed to the position. So that means there's a political influence up front. For them to get in the door, they had to be accepted by a politician, whether it be the governor or the mayor, or somebody in authority who has an agenda. Oh, but you can do what you do the right thing. We hands off. Really? The pandemic showed us that that's not necessarily the case. You know, you want to say something contrary to what, you know, the politicians want you to say, you'll be shut down and moved to the side really quickly. But anyway, let's talk about mass media and how it's impacted the Black community. And I'm going to read this real quick. It's not long. Media manipulation. Okay. Is a list of the top strategies for manipulating the masses through mass media. Strategy number one, distraction. The element of social control is the distraction strategy. The strategy consists of diverting the public's attention from major problems
Oh,
and changes
sorry, you guys in the meeting. Okay, I'll call you later.
Okay, Kimmy. Okay, Kimmy.
That was Shay.
Yeah. Now, this strategy consists of diverting the public's attention from major problems and changes decided by political and economic elites through flooding media outlets continuously with insignificant information. Let me give you that again real quick. Social control through distraction. This strategy consists of diverting the public's attention from major problems and the changes decided by political and economic elites through flooding media outlets continuously with insignificant information. Distraction strategy is also essential in preventing the public from becoming interested in essential information, such as the areas of science, economics, psychology, and things like that. Keeping the public busy with unimportant information results in their having little or no time to focus on getting information necessary to make better decisions about economic or political decisions that really matter. Creating problems, here's number two, creating problems and then offering the solutions. This method is also called the problem reaction solution. It identifies or creates a problem or a situation planned to garner a particular public reaction and then promote that reaction as if it were a mandate the public actually supports. For example, a continuously promoting urban violence or organized bloody acts, causing the public to think that their safety and security are at risk, justifying an atmosphere for policies that will be a deterrent to their freedom. I'm going to give you one more before I stop. The strategy of graduation. To make an unacceptable measure accepted, you only need to apply it gradually. This is how radically new socio-economic conditions were imposed during the 80s and the 90s that included increased privatization, acceptability of mass unemployment, stagnant wage increases that could no longer support single income households. So many economic changes that would have brought about a revolution if they were all implemented at the same time. And one example there I want to give you is the frog in the pot. Now, you've all heard about it. You know, you have a pot of water and you put a frog in it, the water's at room temperature, and the frog will sit there. If you took that same frog and put it in a pot of boiling water, what do you think would happen?
I'll be eating me some frog legs.
Yeah, he would jump out real quick. But then this is the point. If you took that same pot of room temperature water and put that frog in it and then slowly turned up the heat, that frog would continue to sit there until those frog legs were ready. You see? Gradually increasing the heat, the pressure, or the discontent people continue to stay there at that point, focus on it until it's just overwhelmed them, you know, as opposed to, as I said, whatever before. So at this point, do we have some idea of what mass media can do?
Mhm. Yes.
Oh, alrighty then. Let me go on, because there's only a few more. You know, the strategy of deferring. Another way to get an unpopular decision accepted is to present it as painful and necessary, gaining public acceptance in the moment for future application. It is easy to accept a future sacrifice now than an immediate sacrifice today. First, because the impact isn't felt immediately, and secondly, because the public, the masses, tend to find comfort in hope, hoping that everything will be better tomorrow and that required sacrifice may be avoided. The next tactic they use, using emotion much more than reflection. The media takes advantage of emotion rather than reason. You'll notice that there are more photos, larger photos, smaller photos, always impact a particular topic. It's a classic technique used to short circuit rational analysis rather than critical examination by the individual. Keeping the public in ignorance and mediocrity, treating the public as if they are incapable of understanding the technologies and methods to manipulate and influence them. We all now understand the concept of Karens. You know, is these people that just stand out there and they have these undisclosed agendas, and they're pointing out all the crimes that somebody else is supposed to be doing, but they got nothing to say about what they're doing in their own household. Yeah. Have I overwhelmed you, or am I just rambling on?
Well, you totally overwhelmed me, and you're extremely rambling, so ramble on.
Thank you for the vote of confidence, Karen.
Okay.
I slipped that one in. Strengthening self-guilt. This is another technique that they use, making the individual believe that he is the only culprit of his disgrace because of his insufficient intellect, lack of mental or poor thinking skills or efforts. So instead of rebelling against the information or media outlets, the individual devalues himself and blames himself, thus inhibits any and all reaction to address the media's manipulation. Knowing individuals better than they know themselves. Over the past 50 years, science's rapid progress has created a gap between public knowledge and the knowledge possessed and used by dominant elites. Thanks to biology, neurobiology, and applied psychology, the system has enjoyed an intellectual advantage over the under or poorly educated, the poor, and the masses as a whole by way of a lack of access to unedited information, political and economic news. Mass media has managed to garner significant influence over the public than the public can afford to overlook. This means, finally, that in most cases, the media exercises greater control and power over society than society can exercise over itself. Now, when you think about that, especially in the Black community, where we're already complaining about the quality of education that we're getting, And these people are telling you straight up that a part of their strategy to continue to do business, it's a business,
Mm-hmm.
to get people to advertise with us, pay us, to put information out there, including their ads. And then they put this information out there and charge you to buy it. So, what's the agenda? The agenda is to only put out things that are going to keep these people giving me advertising dollars and give it to you, not for free, but you pay for it because you think we are being straightforward and upfront with you, with the truth coming. We're going to talk about that whole thing in a minute. But the reality is as long as you're making money, you're doing what you do. And you're not going to do anything to not make the money because you won't be around. Is that clear? Or am I just, getting rambling on?
It's clear.
No, it's very clear. It's
Mhm.
very clear because it was clear to me when you mentioned the word insignificant, and that just brought me back to my account, insignificant funds. But you know, so, so, so that's I grabbed onto that real quick because I thought you was gonna mention my name for a minute. So but anyway,
All righty then. Any other opinions?
I mean, you're spot on because, like I said, all this stuff. When we hear things be like free, like Facebook is free, Google's free, all these things, it's not really free. They're taking our information that we're giving them and they're selling it to the highest bidder, which they turn around and use that against us to know what ads that what ads to put out there or what colors we like or what your they know everything. They're in our households. They're on our phones. So they use that information against us to keep that lie going and so forth and so on.
Well, let me give an example. And now we don't really talk about politics on this show, but sometimes we have to mention it. And in my career, I've noticed that many presidents have come along, and some of them, even though they may not be an attractive person, but they understood the
well, I
importance.
know you're not talking about Obama. You know, I know you're not talking about Obama. So go ahead, or
Okay,
Kennedy. You know,
okay,
mm,
you like
yeah.
Democrats, but anyway, what we have
No,
is a.
I'm a Republican. I'm a
Really?
Republican. Yeah, you truly, because they're gonna do shit all wrong anyway. So I might as well be right along with them. I'm a Republican.
And as I was saying, throw me off track here. Most
Okay.
residents have had a good relationship with the press. Now, whether the press was totally behind them for their full term is another question because the press was responsive to their advertisers. And if the president was deciding or thinking about doing something that was contrary to my business and you're the outlet and you're going to support that conversation, I got a problem with you. I'm not going to put my money with you because what he's saying is hurting me. And that's understandable. I mean, that really is understandable. Um, Unlike going to a church where you believe that the pastor is going to tell you right and wrong no matter what, because it ain't personal to them. They're telling you what God would say if I have done. Whole nother conversation, but you understand the difference between the two. The motivation for the press is how many dollars am I going to get and keep getting versus the church, well, am I going to go to hell and not go to hell type of thing. So these relationships that the president has had with the press have been key because even when the president had something to say that was contrary to what they thought public opinion would be at that moment, they were able to, let's kind of smooth thing over sometime. let the press say what they want to say, and just so that the word gets out there and we'll deal with it. And this press has their own strategies, and I just went over those. At the end of the day, the people got what message? They got the message that the press delivered. Not whether it's a good message, bad message, not it was a truth or not truth.
Right.
But when you've got these outlets, Daily News, let's say the Post, let's say USA Today or whatever, these people are trying to make money. And news controversy sells papers. It drives people to watch television, TV shows, news shows, okay, because they want to hear the latest whatever. Now, how many of us are going to actually sit there and say, look, they're talking about the stock market today and why it went this way, why it went that way type of a thing. Unless you're a stock market and you're in the market trying to make money, you ain't trying to hear that. Right. Because if you got no background, you just lost and confused.
Yeah.
You see?
Well, I'm not going to jump out no damn window because I became broke.
Right. But anyway, for the rest of us who out here,
I hope y'all don't need it.
And your point is really, on point there, because some people, based on the information that they receive, they respond to it. Mm-hmm. Now, if suddenly the market, and I don't want to get into the market, but the thing is, there's fluctuations. Things can go up this minute, and 10 minutes later, they go down.
Okay, ask me, am I broke, and see if I dash through this window. Go ahead.
Yeah. And so when your $5 investment goes to $4.50, you might consider, jumping out that window. But when it goes up to 501, it was too late because you jumped out the window. but you see the point.
If my $5 investment go to 501, I said I'm related to the Jeffersons moving on up. That's right. It's your
yeah, not far, but you're moving up. Yes, this is true.
yes. Just showing up.
But now let's go back to the Black Lives Matter situation. When and the comparison is the Million Man March. You got 1 million black men who can walk came to Washington, D.C. Not one incident that required everybody going nut.
Or violent, okay? Exactly.
Or getting violent or out of their character, no matter how much, if they brought any liquor with them or they brought any reefer with them or whatever. No conversation because none of that happened. But now Black Lives Matter. Suddenly you got black people and white people walking. Somebody wants to throw a Molotov cocktail. Somebody wants to start a fight with somebody. And so on. And now there's a riot. But we can't have this. It's a protest. We're tired of getting killed by cops.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. And that's what we're out there for. These people want to break into stores, break into Walmart and steal what? All they can.
I want 72-inch. I don't care. I want a 72-inch.
Like I said, all they could carry.
Yeah.
I can carry it.
Carry a 72-inch.
I'll drag it.
But you know what? I had a question about that because my concern with that whole Black Lives Matter and the rioting was, in my opinion, I understood the angle that black people came from with the anger that they had. But what I couldn't understand was the agenda of some of the white people and the things that they were doing. It seemed like a lot of stuff was getting chaotic and it was taking the attention away from what the problem was. It was kind of creating what you talked about when you said distractions. I mean, even with George Floyd, like Yeah, we understand this is something serious. This is what the focus needs to be. How are we going to deal with this police officer? How is he going to pay for what he did? And all of a sudden, there's a riot here, there's a riot there. Everybody's protesting, and all these places are getting broken. It was just a lot. It was a lot of distractions going on. It wasn't a main focus on the real problem. That's what it seemed like, in my opinion.
Well,
can I throw my opinion out there? Okay. If they really wanted to, if they really believed in systemic, racism in the system, all those people, they could have got together, all those wealthy millionaires that donated to it, they could have said, look, let's get a group of lawyers in every state, and we're going to go forward, we're going to stand at the Capitol, and we're going to demand that the rules get changed. That would have made more, that would have more of an impact and more of a change to it than all the destruction. But they rather have us go up there, tear up stuff, so then on the world stage, we look like crazy people, because it's like, well, why don't they just go get these people that's supposed to be on their side, and say, hey, look, we're intelligent, nonviolent people. We know that this is wrong. Let's get it fixed. You know what I'm saying? It don't take 6 months. It don't take a year. You see it. It's in the news. You know what I'm saying? You're saying it's a problem. We're saying it's a problem.
Right.
You agree. Let's get it done.
Well, two things. One thing, when we talk about Asians American, during this particular period of time, they were under attack. And suddenly there was legislation from the national level trying to protect them.
Yes.
Now, we've been being abused for years.
Killed. Everything.
And we're still fighting for legislation that's been sitting on people's desks for the last couple of years.
Yep.
And we still haven't had any results. And so when we got up to say something about it, all of a sudden there's all these other people coming. And this is to get to your point about white folks being involved. And I'm not being disparaging for white folks who understand that it's not about race, it's about humanity. I'm not talking about those. I'm talking about the ones who were there to cause problems,
exactly,
to start stuff, to make things bad. Now, with that in mind, back to mass media. Mass media could have just said, we're not going to show that stuff. We may talk about it because it's something that happened. There was an altercation here, there was a disturbance over here, whatever. But here are the people who are marching about Black Lives Matter, and here's one of the presenters talking about it. This is what we want you to see, because this is what the point of this is. No, I'm not making any money talking about things that are going to help you, because you do things and you got issues and things happen to you that keep other people buying my paper.
Yeah.
You see, black man beat down and got his somebody's neck, their knee on their neck. Ooh, that's news.
Yeah.
Not the fact that this rogue cop is out there just doing whatever he wants and unabated and unchecked and not held accountable for, because this wasn't his first rodeo. You see, we ain't talking about that. We're talking about the fact where he had his knee on your neck and all of my people over here want to see that.
Yep.
Whether it's right or wrong, they want to see it.
Yep.
So again, back to the issue of mass media, and I want to turn in about a minute to the second part of this conversation, which focuses on our part in this whole mass media thing, because we have a role in it too. You know, you can run around and tell somebody over and over and over again a lie, and eventually they will either accept it as a lie or they'll stop questioning you about it because they know that you're going to keep saying it. It's still a lie. And eventually it's going to come out that it is a lie, because the truth is going to rise. Okay? It's not about, people with money and influence or whatever. You could keep the truth buried for so long.
Yeah.
It's going to come out, period. So anyway, what's the motivation? When we talk about mass media, it's important to them to continue to keep that money line, that money train going through, and we happen to be the ones that are the ones in the middle in the barrel. Okay, no matter what, we're always in the barrel. Now, let me give you this here, and this is a final comment. Let me go to the next part. Any comments? Okay, here you go. 7 facts about Black Americans and the news media. Okay, so we just talked about the media and is having its strategies on how to keep whatever information that's important to them and their business in front of people. Number 1, Black adults stand out for their trust in local news organizations. Yet, we do not have one national news organization of importance. Number 2, Black adults are more likely to feel connected to their main source of news. Again, these are sources that are from the white community. Number 3, the news media's watchdog role is seen as more of a necessary check among Black adults than among whites. We think that it's the media's responsibility because they are the so-called watchdogs, self-appointed watchdogs, and what they say must be true. White people don't feel the same about us. Number 4, Black Americans are less concerned about made-up news than other national issues. When asked what they think about made-up news and information, about 4 in 10 Black adults say it is a very big problem compared to what about half of white people think. Number 5, Black Americans prefer getting their news from TV. While we all know there is no major Black news show at the national level. Number 6, Black newspapers are small community-oriented newspapers. Those that we have, there's supposedly about 100 of them across the country. Only one has an audited circulation of 50,000. When I ran the community journal here, we had an unaudited circulation of 25,000. Now that's right here in Hempstead.
Wow.
On Long Island. Okay, so you look across the entire country, our newspapers are small. Newsday here on Long Island, at its peak, 700,000 readers, audited, which happened to be a lie at that time. Now it's over 300,000, whatever. But again, what we're saying is we'd rather get our news from people who do not look like us because we think that they are going to tell us the truth because what? They're all honest. Last one. Black Americans tend to be underrepresented in U.S. newsrooms. While 7% of newsrooms employees are Black, 11% of U.S. workers overall are Black. So right there, we're at a disproportionate level. And the final point, when it comes down to news directors, the ones who sit in the newsrooms who make the decision what's reported and what's not reported, only 6% of news directors are people of color.
Wow.
So here we are. We are strategies that are used by mass media are designed not to help you. They're designed to keep people buying their papers and seeing their shows. We, as the consumer of this, are sitting here that these people are working to help us. therein lies a problem. So now, when I said earlier about brainwashing, can you connect that dot?
Yep.
We're being told what works for someone else. We are committed to accepting what they say. And they have told you that we are in the business of making things work for who's paying us.
Yeah.
We don't even pay for our own newspapers and our own media. You see that therein lies, and so you say, well, okay, well, this is a show, a ministry for Black men and Black youth to converse and to talk. We have to understand that I can talk to William 24 hours a day. He's still got to go out and do his job. He's still got to live his life, and he's going to be inundated with all of this that is already designed to circumvent anything I say to him. Nice. And we need to understand, I mean, I'm not saying, look, go out, go forth and change the world, but what I am saying is that don't be hoodwinked. You say, look, I know you this is what they put out there, fine, that's cool, for now. You sit there and watch it long enough, it'll change.
Mm-hmm.
It'll be something else tomorrow, and there'll be a reason for it. This one stopped paying, and this one started paying for it.
Wow.
And as to your point, what you mentioned earlier about the Million Man March, right? And I believe the reason why it was so successful is because it was on BET at the time, Black Entertainment Television, for those who don't know. And then after that, what happened? BET was bought out by Viacom. So when they try to do the next Million Man March, you don't hear crickets.
Exactly.
The word don't get out. You know what I'm saying? That's one way that they know that BET was reaching a lot of the Black community.
That's right.
And they went and they bought it out and said, hey, we're not gonna let this ride. We got to get this under control here.
Yeah.
Right. Because we were getting information. See, one of the things about the Million Man March is the first thing that came out, not the fact that it was announced that talking about conversation about having this march on Washington to let people understand that Black men do care. We do have a role. We have our own responsibilities. But the first thing you want to throw on the fire is Minister Farrakhan's name, because the media had already set him up as, well, this is not a good guy. He's not a good Negro. He's talking all this fancy stuff, and that's not true. We don't treat Black people like that. Yeah, right. But anyway, when BET continued to pound home the point of having this march, the white press could not overcome that, because it wasn't about overcoming it for the mass. It was about overcoming it for the Black people who were listening to it. You see? Because they knew 1 million Black people in one place at one time, what kind of problem are we going to have? Because this is the fear that they had already put out there.
Yeah.
Black people coming together, that's a problem. Yeah, it's a problem because you've been treating us like crap.
Exactly.
And only because you're in control.
Yeah.
If you weren't in control, if it wasn't a 1 in 10 ratio, we'd have a whole different kind of conversation.
Yeah.
Right.
One Black man, one white man, we wouldn't be having the issue of race. Well,
I got a speculation on that too. I mean, you notice where most of the Planned Parenthoods are located.
In the Black community, community and Hispanic communities. Yes.
I know. I was told. I think there was like 34,000 abortions, like in New York State alone, or New York City alone. Like for 1 year. I'm like, just think about it. All the states. I mean, there's a reason why our numbers stay so small. And they pump liquor in the hood. There ain't no liquor stores in Beverly Hills. So that I
I
was told
exactly.
I was
Well,
told that
there ain't no liquor stores near me. I got to get on the bus. Shoot.
well well one of the things that I was told was that, with liquor, what I'm saying, it could, not for everybody, but it could make you impotent or, reduce your semen count. So like, if you look at how, the powers that be, control everything,
Does that have,
would you put it past them
excuse
to
me,
try to keep our numbers low, just to keep them in that 1 to 10 ratio?
Well,
yeah.
that, and we've had this conversation about, birth control and the black family type of thing. There's all kinds of reasons for it. There's pluses, there's minuses, or whatever. It's a personal decision, yes. But there have been some trends that are counterproductive. Yes, there's been this whole thing about, well, black men, getting drunk and carrying on and acting out of character. It's kind of hard to get drunk when you got no money. And you got no money because you got no job. So what are we talking about? Are they getting drunk because they want to get drunk? Or are they getting drunk because they're depressed and they're trying to understand that life should not be this way? Another conversation about the family unit. Now, when I was growing up, being married was the thing. Okay, it's popular to be married. Yeah, that's fine. Not that it's the right thing, but it was popular to be married. Nowadays, you don't have to be married. You have a kid or have all the kids you want, and it's fine. But then the thing is in your household, what does the child learn? He learns what the mother does, what the mother brings to the table, but he doesn't have the father to bring anything to the table. So, and if there's a male, he's going to grow up to be what? A father, with absolutely no clue as to what a father's role is.
Right.
And so this is acceptable. Again, mass media. Everywhere you look nowadays, you see two men together or two women together and a child.
Yeah.
This is acceptable behavior. No, it's not acceptable behavior because it's counterproductive to reproduction and the family unit. And then families growing and doing the right thing in life. Okay. Having babies and making babies, that's physical. But raising a child, man, that takes, some thought. You don't have all the skills when you come to you don't have all the skills coming to the table because there's no book written, this is how to raise a child. A lot of it is learned on the go, and also from what you see at home.
Yeah.
And so we talk about, so where the pathology is, the pathology is the same. You come from a single parent household, your children more than likely are going to be single parents because they don't understand the dynamics. You have to work with your partner. You have to choose wisely, but you have to work with them. It's not always going to be your way. You have to understand that. But then you both need to work together, and that's the commitment that you have. And I want to continue on that because we're talking about the mass. And, a part of the mass media, again, is not to benefit you. I'll get right to you, Kimmy. Is not of benefit to you and your family and the family unit. It's to make money. That's all it's about. It's to make money. You may say, well, they're all white people in charge. Yeah, and they got another agenda because they want to stay in charge. Okay? But the bottom line is, you start playing with that money, you have a whole different conversation. Last point. How many dollars are coming out of your pockets supporting mass media? That's the conversation you take away from this to your friends and associates. I want information. I want the truth, but I'm not going to support a lie. I'm not going to support it. And if I know your agenda right up front, you're about making money.
Well, okay,
I want to say. Will had something. Let me go.
No, Billy had something. She had a hand raised.
Well, I've been trying to say something for a minute, so I'm old.
Okay.
Let me say mine before I be done forgot and went off to the love
I'm
boat
feeling
with
it. I'm feeling
somebody.
it. Yeah.
Okay, let's get it. Number one, I don't listen to the news. I listen to the radio stations, the black radio stations, because number one, they're gonna fill you in on all the details. You
Mhm.
know,
Mhm.
as far as listening to the news on TV, they're just going to give you the immediate bad parts, and for you to assume that, oh wow, maybe they did that or whatever. But listening to the radio, to the news stations on the radio, the black radio stations, they have different sections to play music. Then the news reporter will come on and speak on the terms of what happened in the world today or whatever. So that's what I listen to. I don't listen to the news on TV, because you can get more information as far as being black, listening to the black radio stations. So that's what I do. I don't listen to the news on television.
Okay. Kimmy?
Can I say something real
Yeah,
quick?
go ahead. Go ahead.
They're not black owned, Aunt Jeanette. Those are they're paid by people that own those radio stations. They're just putting it out there just so they can reach more of us. So you got to be careful with that too.
Mm.
Oh,
Okay.
Wow.
damn,
Didn't know
damn,
that.
damn.
Oh Lord.
I
Just when you think.
just when I thought I was getting the right
Right.
information, that
And
not. I would tell my speaker, but I paid too much money for it, so I'm not gonna do that. Okay, what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna start making my own conclusions.
there you go. There you
I'm
go.
conclusions of what's going on in the world.
All right, I got you. Kimmy, what
Yeah,
you got to say?
I just wanted to trickle back to the music industry. I mean, when you talked about you see a man and a man and a woman and a woman, you also have to look at the music industry. What is being pumped through the music industry to the younger generation?
Hmm.
So, it's not they're not producing music that's saying love your woman, love your husband, be loyal, come together, build up, you know, um great legacies. You get what I'm saying? They're saying, oh, my side chick this and my side do that, and I got this many that, and it's not really anything that's gonna help this generation or the generations to come. Mass media brainwashing.
Hmm.
Absolutely. Because again, back to money. These
Hmm.
people who put together these songs are putting it together first off to make money. And the ones that are selected to be produced, the producer believes I'm going to make money. And then it's out there being sold to who? People they want, like me and you,
Yeah.
to buy and support their efforts. But what are you selling? You're selling
Exactly.
damaging information and you're packaging it so you make us feel emotional about it. We like the beat or whatever.
Hmm.
The point is that this, let's just say, for example, rap, hip hop, or whatever, because of its reputation,
Hmm.
they produce this not because we buy it, they produce it because they buy it, because that's what mass media has been telling them. This is what those people do.
How you get their attention? Yeah. Hmm.
And so we are making, some of us are making money from the fact that we're just feeding into our own destruction.
Right.
And we won't stop and say, look, when is enough enough?
Right.
When do I say I'm not going to be used by you and I'm going to work with my own people to do better?
It
We
just
have to
doesn't.
start talking like that. We need to do better amongst ourselves. And one way to do that is to get information back and forth. You know, well,
Another thing is the money. Most of these people are doing it because of the money, but as soon as we get money, we turn around and put it in their hands. You know,
Yeah.
we're black. There's no black person that own Nike. There's no black person that
It's crazy.
all these clothings, Gucci, Louis Vuitton, all these things that we
Jewelry.
throwing money at
Mhm.
because we want to look fresh, fly, this, that, and the other. We're not investing in any black-owned businesses, so that money's as soon as we get it, all these artists that they're taking it and sending it to these people. Oh, I want to buy this luxury vehicle, this luxury yacht.
Yeah.
I mean, the money comes and the money goes, and that's what they keep doing. We spend the most money out of any demographic in the United States, but we're steadily the brokest. You know what I'm saying?
We spend the money, we don't invest the money.
Yeah.
And if we do invest money, it's not in ourselves,
Uh-huh.
it's in other entities. And therein lies the problem. It's just that pathology. We keep doing the same thing over and over again, yet we're expecting a different outcome. The outcome is always going to be the same if you keep doing it the same way. You got to do it differently. And differently
but
starts with the thinking. Go on.
yeah, you know what it is? It's little that a lot of black people don't know. It's a lot of black investors that own hundreds of places, but they don't let the money circulate into, invested in like poor communities, black communities to build them up or whatever. They may put a movie theater in that black community and it'll last for maybe a couple of years or whatever and wind up closing down, because I just understand Shaq owns just as for a few things over 100 and something what is it?
Franchises.
Magic Johnson Theaters. Hmm.
Just one thing, but out of many of things. But at one company owns 100 of them, so they're not letting the money flow around to different communities to like build them up and put things in there for black people to build on, the young kids to be able to be productive at.
Well, I'm not gonna let you criticize someone just off the cuff
one of the
because
greatest, right?
No, I'm not
what I want to say is this.
Yeah.
What I want to say is this: is that her point? I understand her point and why she's going there. I understand that, but it's not Shaq's responsibility to help save us. It's our responsibility to work together to save us. So, for example, he owns 100 pizza parlors. What is he with?
Exactly.
Papa John's or whatever.
What it is.
And that's fine. So he's employing people, he's making money, and so on. So we need to say, okay, look, Shaq, you're doing your thing, that's cool. Could you put aside, a few dollars so we could have a big meeting where we bring all the smart people in the community together to come up with a plan so then more people could buy hundreds of pizza parlors.
That's my point.
That might be something he would be interested in doing, or he might just say, look, that sounds like a good idea, but I ain't put no money in it. That's fine. This is his idea. But we need to come to the table and say, look, Shaq got $10, I got 15 cents. Whether he puts his $10 in or not, am I going to put my 15 cents in?
Mm-hmm.
We don't do that. You say, I'm willing to sacrifice. No, I'm not going to sacrifice, but I want it to get better. Like I said before, you keep doing the same thing over and over again, but you expect a different result.
Mm-hmm.
You don't want any money in it, but you want to get money out of it. And this is a mentality. This is a mentality that the mass media runs with because we keep doing it.
Yes, but what I'm saying is,
if they say to other white people, well, black people don't know how to manage their money, that would be the truth because we keep doing stupid stuff with our money. Counterproductive. And so that's the point of this whole conversation here. We need to start doing better because we actually do know better. We just don't do it.
Yeah, but the thing is, if you don't have money to do something with, then what do?
You had 15 cents and you had $5.01. So don't tell me you ain't got no money.
Well, let me check. Well, you just wait a minute. Let me check my damn pockets and I'll prove it to you on national TV. This is a what? This is a what? This is a what? Shit. Okay. Now where do I go invest that? Because this is gonna be invested. Shit.
Well, see that was something I was going to mention about, because when you mentioned about that famous individual having a bunch of stuff, I don't want to seem like I'm bashing any particular person, but that's what we need to start doing is trying to learn what they're doing, you know what I'm saying, and do their investments, because he probably has you know uh financial investment people working for him doing these investments, or saying, hey, we recommend you put your money in this. We recommend you put the money in this, because he's focusing on all the other hundreds of different things that he does. But we need to start learning from these people that are being successful and what they're putting their money into, and start saying, well, why am I going to buy these $400 shoes when, okay, I don't really need $400 shoes. If I want to look nice, I can buy $100 shoes and take that 300 and put it in for my retirement, or what have you. I don't need to spend 400 and have a nice pair of shoes. But because they got me brainwashed to buy these specific shoes, I feel like I have to have that in order to be somebody, or it has to have an L and a V on it, or have to have a double G on it.
Kanye said it best. Kanye West said it best. Drug dealer buy joint, crackhead buy crack, and the white man get paid off for all of that.
All of that.
Good point. But we've had this
Kanye West said
conversation.
that? Kanye West said that?
Yeah.
Oh, he must have been on schedule that day. Call him back and see what he said today. Yeah. At one point, I seen him get on TV and say Trump is a racist. He hate black people. Then the next time I see him, he had on a Trump hat and he telling him he was his hero. So as far as Kanye West, I can't go. I'll be all screwed up dealing with him. Okay, and maybe I catch him on the day that he's off schedule, and maybe he'll give me a couple of 100,000. That's what I'm looking forward to.
My luck up.
Yeah, I hope so.
You've got to, take time and think about what makes sense. What makes sense for you? I mean, you want to try to lead by example. We can sit here and complain about and lord over this or over that or whatever, but it's got nothing to do at the end of the day. If you're not willing to reach in your pocket to support what's coming out of your mouth, then ain't nothing coming out your mouth of any value. You see, and this is what our community needs to come together for and understand. Look, I don't know everything. So let's sit and let's talk about what I've been through, what you've been through, or whatever, and we see what's going on. So you pick and choose those things that look like they make real sense. And together, we come together and, well, this is what we agree that we'll do. And damn it, keep your word.
Mm-hmm.
This is another problem. See, it's only the basic things that are holding us back. Keeping your word.
Mm-hmm.
Doing what you said you were going to do. You want to help, you want to see the community move forward, then do something to help it move forward. That's all.
Exactly. And number one, let me rephrase this. Go back to this. I would never bash Shaq because I love him too much.
We know that. We know
very smart. He's a very intelligent young man. Okay, but all I'm saying, just extend yourself a little further. Come into the rural areas, the real hardcore areas. Look, I'm gonna put a pizza shop up in here where you can get a slice of pizza for $2 instead of $47.58. You understand what I'm saying? So therefore you have some change in your pocket to make investments so we can build another pizza store on the other side of town. How about that?
And I understand your point, and my point to that would be take out the word pizza and just say a store, because we spend more money in Chinese restaurants than Chinese spend in Chinese restaurants.
Mm-hmm.
Okay,
I was gonna say, I don't recall ever seeing a Chinese person out to eat. Have y'all ever been in a restaurant? I know it's not just me. Have y'all ever been in a restaurant? I've never seen a Chinese person in a McDonald's drive-through, in a Burger King drive-through, in a Checkers drive-through, in a Waffle House, in a KFC. Where do they eat? Let's think about that.
They eat in their own shops, rice with the the sticks, and they are the people,
Chopsticks.
the chopsticks, and they need
It's
they need to stop using them damn chopsticks and stop eating that rice because Chinese people, Asian people, and Korean people have the highest rate of diabetes. Believe it or not, and they are the smallest people walk on the face of this earth as far as weight size. Okay.
They're also the richest people. No, I'm just kidding. All right.
We're out of time.
Okay.
So thank everybody for coming.
Oh man, you just got me started. You can't extend the show.
No. And so let's say goodbye, and then we'll talk offline after I go to the restroom.
Goodbye, everybody. Be safe.
Thanks for joining us.
Bye-bye.
All right.
God bless.
See you next week,
Okay.
God willing, and the creek don't rise.
All right now.